How we pray. In Narrativium, Nicoism, making art is the equivalent of praying. Terry Pratchett, the late founder of Narrativium, often included in his novels a rip in the fabric of reality, opening up a portal into what he called the dungeon, dimensions, wherefrom come demons attempting to enter Terry Pratchett's Discworld, a flat world on the back of a giant turtle named the Great Atuin, where magic is real, but is underdeveloped, and what is essentially what the world would have been like in the days people believed the world was flat in the time of Christopher Columbus and such like. So, back to Nicoism and how making art is how we pray. Wait, there was a reason I went on that preamble. I remember now. See, in Terry Pratchett's book, Moving Pictures, Discworld parodies Hollywood with its own version, Holywood. In this book, the Holywood Hills are where generations of men, or should I say man, as only one man must live on the hill alone and fulfill his duty of lighting a fire 3 times a day at the top of the hill. In the book, for some reason, the lineage ends and the alone man on the hill dies with no predecessor, thus causing the demon spirit he was keeping at bay to become free and escape the hill and fly off into the disc. It reaches a big city in the west named Ankh-Morpork and causes various characters from the city to move to Holywood, start using essentially black magic to make movies, until eventually all their narratives bubble up to a boiling point, causing the aforementioned rip in the fabric of reality, and the demons to descend, looking to take over the disc, only for the hero of the book to send them back to the dungeon dimensions until the next book. So how this correlates to making art, instead of praying to an invisible God that doesn't exist or simply doesn't care about us. Basically, my idea is that live shows or cinema screenings should be put on 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night, the equivalent of the alone man lighting his fire 3 times a day, with the aim of keeping the demons at bay. This is because Narrativium is the religious counterpart to quantum physics. Quantum means small, so quantum physics simply means small physics. Basically, unless you've been living under a rock for the past 20 years, you probably already know that quantum physics scientists look at things through super powerful microscopes to do things like split the atom and see waves. Now, waves are simply things you can't see with the human eye, like sound, heat, and gravity. So quantum scientists did a thing called the slit test. What they did was, they got a tiny gun and shot atoms at a tiny wall through a tiny keyhole and at a tiny bullseye behind the first tiny wall. The long and short of it was when the tiny camera was there, or they were observing the experiment with a microscope, everything went to plan. They shot the tiny machine gun. The atoms went everywhere, and by the end of it, there was a keyhole-shaped splash of atoms on the bullseye. The point of this is that when the experiment was not observed by a camera or microscope, when the scientists looked at the finished product, the atoms were splashed all over the bullseye like they were made of liquid or waves. The scientists decided that this meant that atoms and waves are one in the same, so this means that things you can see and touch are as real as things you can only hear, smell, and taste, or whatever. Basically, they said everything is made up of the same stuff, but still they couldn't understand where the consciousnesses come from. What do they mean by consciousnesses? Well, consciousness is basically just the camera, the microscope, the man peeing in the urinal directly next to you. Now listen, this is where quantum physics falls short, because the human and the energy, atoms and waves, are one in the same too. The atoms turn into waves when unobserved, because they need the microscope to tell them what to do. It is a mutual relationship of dependence. Waves, atoms, and consciousnesses are simply components of Nicoism's rule of three, simply equal pieces of the whole oneness that every religion professes to exists, and that the scientists argue that doesn't. Okay, so making art is basically the art of taking what's in your imagination, waves, and turning it into something tangible, atoms. The clearer you transfer what's in your brain into art, the better chance you have of attracting more humans, or microscopes, to watch and help you manifest whatever it is you were praying for by making it. If your art is extremely good, people might even watch it several times, bringing more power or energy to your cause. Nico elaborates on this theory by applying his experience of the fake, dramatized professional wrestling industry in an attempt to teach you how to conduct stories in a day-to-day, physically expressive manner and how to make yourself a work of art. I hope you enjoy it.